Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, my precious pack, and welcome back once more to VEGA Conflict, and it's time for a new concept idea. Generation 1 of spawn ships, Zealots and Murs, were quite an interesting addition and changed what the players could do. Whether seen for the better or the worse by the player base, the devs do see it as an issue as it altered how their targets were engaged. So what we see in the second generation of spawns, the Reapers, are much weaker for their tier compared to the prior generation. That can be seen as a good and a bad thing for the game. On one hand, they're more balanced towards being less altering in AI targets because they die more quickly, they have timed lives, and yada yada yada. But on the other hand, they're partially underwhelming. So, what can we suggest for all spawns to make them less impactful on how a target behaves, but better in terms of how they benefit a player? Well, I hope you all have some ideas to share because I would like to hear them, as I have one that on paper would play out well for both the players and the devs designing the game, as well as the targets. My idea is to benefit the players and the devs in this way revolves around reworking what we already have. Rework existing spawn ships and work new spawns into systems that help benefit the players in unique ways, while making player spawns indestructible and untargetable. With this, they can no longer distract NPC targets, but can deal damage and serve one of many purposes that I am about to lay out. The reason for not having NPC spawns follow along with these changes to player tech is because we're trying to improve them for players while also improving them for the AI, but make them less impactful for the AI behavior and such in the game, meaning that targets would better function as the devs wanted them to. I'd briefly considered timed lives similar to what we see on the Reaper, but I quickly found that point to be mute as all it did was reset the ships back to the spawn ship. Well, the spawner ship. Basically no reason to actually have it. Now with the main idea laid out of reworking the content and looking into different ways to improve upon them, let's take a look at some concept classes for spawn ships and explore what they can do under this system for the players. And naturally, it has to benefit the players, because if it isn't worth it in the player's perspective, then it shouldn't be considered. There will be three classes of spawn ships that I want to talk about. One of which exists in the game, but lacks the special trait I'll be giving the player spawn classes in these settings. The first class is a fighter class, and you'll know the fighters from Tier 8. You had the fighters, the titans, and the rangers. In this case, the Zealots and the Murs and the Reapers were fulfilling that role of the fighter class, but they don't really have the major aspects going for them. The fighter class are spawn ships, which will focus on high speed, moderate damage, low range, and partial stasis. Partial stasis, as they will slow your opponent to buy you time to prepare for the fight, because now that they're all indestructible, you can't negatively affect them, so they'll all continue rushing at you and you can't stop them. The Titan class of spawn ships will be best suited for defensive modes when deciding between offensive or defensive playstyles. The Titan class spawn ships will focus on moderate damage, moderate range, moderate speed, and a defensive aura. The defensive aura can be a flat-out damage buff or resistance for all nearby allied ships, thus encouraging use of the defensive mode for when the fighting gets a bit too close to the spawner itself. Naturally, these auras will not stack, so having more than one Titan-class spawn ship on a ship with more than one spawn slot would be unnecessary and partial overkill because they only provide the single stack, and they don't benefit the other spawn ships, at least not in my iteration of this idea to begin with. Finally is the Ranger class of spawn ship. The Ranger class of spawn ship will focus on high damage, high range, moderate mobility, and a ramping damage bonus. The ramping damage bonus is meant to make the Ranger class spawn more dangerous the longer it is in a fight. Up to a point, of course. We don't want it to go too far because we don't want them to achieve that of which the standard ships can do. They're only a supplement that's supposed to help and provide a ability or a trait to your fleet or a benefit, which is what they should have done in the first place. Now, to fully summarize all of the previously stated in a short and easy to follow manner, is as follows. Player spawn ships will become indestructible and untargetable by NPC and AIs, leading into targets functioning as intended. Reworking existing and new spawn ships to fall into a class system, classes being Fighter, Titan, Ranger, each with a unique focus. That's it. That's all there is to this idea. Fairly short and simple for the most part. Be safe out there. Well, before I actually end, let's go ahead and let's get the discussions going in the comments section about what more can be done for these, because naturally these are just bare-bone ideas, but they're laid out with the intention of being fleshed out and thrown up before the development team to consider and look into. Now, be safe out there, my pack. Happy hunting, and as always, I'll see you later.